The dispute between Japan and China taking its toll. Japanese companies have temporarily closed retail outlets and factories across China. This after Japan's purchase of the Diaoyu Islands triggered widespread protests across China. The tensions affect nearly $340 billion worth of trade between the two countries. The disruptions are taking its toll on these Japanese brands. Chinese access to their products have also taken a hit. Most of the supply lines to the mainland are feeling the pressure. Mike Firn has been talking to some of the affected companies. Hi, Mike.
Morning. Well, we are seeing a bit of a bounce back in stocks. Monday was a holiday here, so there was a sell-off in retailers and manufacturers on Tuesday after a lot of them announced that they were suspending production at factories, closing stores. Just Go reporting that one of its stores in Huangdao was ransacked and it shut 30 sites on Tuesday. Also, 7&I Holdings, which operates 7-Eleven and Ito-Yokado, closing stores, and Fast Retailing, which operates Uniqlo, shutting more than 30 of its stores. But they are back open today, and after a 7% drop in its stock on Tuesday, those shares rising today. As protests spread to many cities in China, Japanese companies are turning to local managers for advice, and many are saying it's better to shut down for the time being. Economists say while it's hard to estimate the cost, it's likely to be huge.
This row comes at a particularly bad time for Japan and Japanese corporations. The yen is particularly strong right now. Export numbers are down. The world economy is slowing. So having additional trouble in Japan's biggest markets, in Japan's biggest overseas production location and future market is, of course, a major concern for companies.
The immediate concern for many Japanese firms, though, is the safety of staff and customers. None of the companies that I contacted was willing to give a statement on camera, although several did issue statements by email, including Fast Retailing, which operates the Uniqlo chain of fashion stores. It says as a result of this situation, its stores in China are not doing well. It is seeing an impact in terms of falling sales, but it says there hasn't been any damage to Uniqlo stores or any injury to any of its employees. Fast Retailing closed 39 of its Uniqlo stores in China Tuesday. 7&I and Aeon also closed outlets. A Sony spokesman told me 2 of 7 China factories were closed Tuesday, with plans to return to normal on Wednesday. Sony is advising staff not to make business trips to China unless they're essential. Toyota told me some affiliates and subsidiaries closed on the advice of local managers. It wouldn't say how many or where. But with many Japanese manufacturers operating joint ventures in China, production cuts may also hurt their local partners. Martin Schultz says the business community has an important role to play in helping ease tensions.
Chinese corporations are now more international, more in the global market. Hopefully they will become a driving force of calming the situation and getting more rationality into the debate as well. That would be big progress if we have this on both sides, the Japanese corporate and the Chinese corporate side.
The Japanese government says it's considering offering support to companies whose business suffers as a result of demonstrations in China. Now, a lot of manufacturers are looking for alternative production sites, some inside China, some in other countries. Panasonic says that 4 of its sites were vandalized, including one of its motor plants in Zhuhai, and it is considering moving production elsewhere because it doesn't know when it can restart them. Also, Mitsumi, which makes some of the parts for the new Nintendo Wii console that's coming out soon, says a plant was vandalized and it shifted production to another facility in China. Now, I said that we saw a bounce back in stocks today. One reason for that, of course, is the Japan Airlines IPO. Shares trading about 0.5% above the listing price today, and that's giving a little bit of a fillip to the market.
Mike, this isn't the first time that we've gone through this dialogue here, and the effects on Chinese exports to Japan are important. Do you have any idea in terms of how short-term or long-term, and what the long-term effects this might have on Japanese businesses?
Well, that's a question I put to Martin Schultz. I said, you know, has Fujitsu Research crunched the numbers? And he said it's impossible this time around. You know, it's happened in the past, but in those instances, the US was Japan's biggest export destination, not China. And China's economy has expanded so much, demand has expanded so much, production by Japanese firms in China has increased so much that he said he couldn't even begin to put a figure on it.
All right, Mike, good stuff. Thank you very much for keeping a big eye on this very important situation that's developing and that continues to develop between China and Japan.